All right, so surprise, I got a haircut. This is actually the first time I've gotten a haircut since, I was 19 years old. There it is. It's dang, it really does look like an Edgar haircut. Tough one, man. Um, yeah, so it's just a fade, low fade, bald. And I got an interview coming up next week, and I was, uh, I was trying to go and look more professional, but now I just look like a fuck boy. I got the Edgar haircut. Man. And I knew I was going to hate it too. I was like, spend all day debating, oh, do I go get this haircut? Do I just, go to this interview without my haircut? And I was looking at my ears and I was like, oh, like my hair is covering my ears a little bit. So I was like, okay, that's not like professional. That's not what they're going for. So I got a haircut, and it's been 5 years since I've had a haircut. I only ever shave my head like every few years. So like every 2 years I'll shave my head. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, then I just grow out an afro. And I like the afro way more. I like the full head of hair. I used to have like a higher fade. Um, but this is a low fade, so there's less hair that's cut. More of the side remains. So that's what I was going for. God, it really is an Edgar. Okay. A full Edgar, I would have like the front taper on the front. Um, you know, but it just is what it is. Okay, about the lift, I got I figured out how to. This is a pull day. I figured out that I was supposed to hold my scapulas back when I'm doing pull ups, and that honestly made it a lot easier. Like the pull ups felt a lot easier to do when I pull like retract my scapulas, kind of like put them closer together. I think it means I'm using more of my lats, and less of like the smaller muscles in between my spine and my scapula. Teres major, teres minor. Man, it's been a while since I've reviewed my back muscle anatomy. So that was actually really nice. It felt a lot better. I also did some low bar squats, and I still don't know how to do it. I actually did terrible. You'll see how bad my form was. Still trying to figure that part out. So back to the haircut. It's been 5 years since I've had a haircut, and I was like, okay, I wanted to get a taper. And I knew before I wanted a taper, which is like even less cuts on the sides, a little bit more professional. It would have solved my problems. It would have had my ears not covered by hair. That would have solved my problem, and it wouldn't look so much like a fuckboy. And I knew I wanted a taper, and I went to the barber, and he was like, "All right, do you want a fade? Do you want a taper?" And I said, "I want a fade." Because that's all I know. All I know are fades. I've never had a taper before. And in the heat of the moment, I said fade. Idiot. So anyway, yeah. Now that's what I have. That's my hair now. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, honestly. Um, it could have been worse. But I do not like it. But this is like one of those concessions that you make when you're... Because, like, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, like, I got to, like, be me and do what I want, you know? And that's, like, how I used to always be. I hate it when people tell me what to do. But I was thinking about it even more, and I was like, no, like, sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do, but you still got to do it. So that's what I did. Anyway, you guys know about Sha'Carri Richardson? She's a sprinter, and I actually didn't know too much about her story. I knew when she won the 100 meter recently, like maybe 2022. She won the 100 meter, and in 2020 she was like went viral because she won it, but then she tested positive for weed, and then they took it away from her. Something like that. I don't really remember. And then I was watching a video about her, and it went like a lot more in depth about like what happened. I knew that she was smoking weed, and her mother recently passed away. Grandmother? I think it was like her grandmother, but she played like a big role in her life. Um, I don't really remember. It was like a very like a maternal figure in her life passed away, and she was smoking weed. She got caught, and everyone was like, "Oh, but like you got to be like super nice, like not super nice, but you got to be more forgiving." You know, her grandmother recently passed away, and she's going through a lot. So what? She smoked some weed. So I was thinking about that, and I didn't know this, but she actually struggled a lot. After that, like she got banned for like a year, and then she came back. She started running some races, and she was getting whooped. She lost like a bunch of races. And of course, I know Sha'Carri Richardson as like the lady with like the dyed hair. She's got the long nails. You know, she was like very headstrong. You know, I didn't think she was very like, I'm not remorseful, but I knew she was upset about it. But maybe she did take accountability for like testing positive for weed or whatever. But a lot of people did want her to take accountability. So I didn't know that she was like really bad after she came back from her suspension. And she took her nails off. When she won that 100-meter race, she stopped smoking weed, of course, but she took her nails off. She had like really long nails, long flashing nails. And when she won that 100-meter race, she kind of like gave in to like all the outside influences. She was like, okay, I'm not going to do it my way. I'm going to do it how everybody else wants me to do it. You know, I'm not going to be so headstrong, and you know, I'm gonna give in, essentially. You know, I'm gonna listen to what everyone has to say. And she took her nails off, which I thought was like big. You know, that really says a lot. This is me trying to do the low bar squat again. I did terrible. Anyway, so she won the 100-meter race. She was a huge underdog. Everybody thought that she was gonna not get it. Wow, even my form's bad. Look, I'm going way too far forward. Okay, that one's a little bit better, but I'm still going too far forward with these, you know? All right, that's a good one, actually. That's a little bit better. Okay, so the point I'm trying to get at with Sha'Carri is that she, you know, she turned around. She changed. She accepted that it was like a bad decision. You know, she took accountability for her actions. She took her nails off, you know, she stopped being so headstrong. She started listening to what everyone else had to say, you know, and she won the 100-meter race for it. I think that was great, honestly. I think it's just like a real role model for that specifically, you know, and like everybody says like, oh, you shouldn't give in. Like you should never take accountability for your actions. You should do what you want, and you shouldn't care about what anybody else has to say as long as you do you. And I very much disagree with that. I used to be a lot like that, you know. I used to hate the rules. And this isn't me trying to be like a huge bootlicker, saying like, oh, well, the law's the law. You know, you can't break the law ever. But, you know, you should listen to outside influences. You know, I like my big old afro, and, you know, my hair covering my ears, and I don't care much about respectability politics or looking professional, but, you know, this particular job interview that I'm doing, it's very much has a lot to do with respectability politics and looking professional and blah, 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 blah. And I've gotten a lot better about that, about not being so headstrong and not being so anti-authority. I mean, I'm still not like pro-authority. God, Carlos is being loud with his bone again. Anyway, I'm still not super like pro-authority and like bootlicker, you know, bootlicker energy. But I have given in a lot, I've changed a lot about what I do, how I do it, all this professionalism stuff, I have a LinkedIn. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get at is that Shikari made the change, and, it really inspired me. That was actually one of the few, athlete stories that, I actually kind of connected with. A lot of times, these athletes have, crazy stories, I don't know. A lot of players that, came from the hood, came from complete poverty, they, LeBron James is a good example. His dad wasn't around. He was from a small town in Ohio, Akron, Ohio. He has a cute, a great physical gift. And, he was able to make a whole career, a whole lot of money too, in basketball. But, I don't connect with that story at all. My dad was around. I didn't grow up in poverty. But Sha'Carri Richardson was the first time I ever I'm sure there's maybe a couple other stories, but the way she was able to turn her life around, and she was able to really she really changed around her mentality, and she succeeded because of it. That's one of the first times I ever really connected with somebody's story, an athlete's story. So I thought that was really cool. And now here I am with my Edgar haircut. I could have been a little bit more subtle. I should have gotten the taper. That's a lot more professional. This is club boy, party boy, a dangling earring. I look like the dudes who go to the gym and harass women. I look like the dudes who call women females. I look like a dude who catcalls women from a Dodge Challenger, I definitely mansplain. Anyway, now I got those out of the way. Anyway, I the haircut is definitely a little bit fuckboy, but for the last 5 years, it's been nothing but afros and buzz cuts, so now here I am with an actual haircut. So at least there's that. I am changing my ways little by little. So that's all I really had to say. But yeah, Sha'Carri Richardson, really great story. I did not know that much about her before. I didn't know about her struggles. I knew about her struggles with, testing positive for marijuana, getting suspended, but I didn't realize she struggled after that too, So definitely a really inspirational story for multiple reasons. Yeah. And I like I said before, society these days, of course, I'm not trying to sound like a conservative, but society these days, they're very much they say a lot of weird things, the whole snowflake trophy generation thing, it's kind of true, but all this anti-authority, do whatever you want, and you go against the rules and the grain. I agree with that in some sense, but you also gotta do what you gotta do. And unfortunately, if I 5 years ago, if I heard myself saying these things, even 3 years ago, if I heard myself saying these things, hey, shh, cars are going to town on that bone. Yeah, if I heard myself saying these things 3 years ago, I would be very disappointed in myself. But I've changed a lot, and I've come to at least recognize respectability politics and not being so headstrong. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. I promise I'll learn how to low bar squat one day, but it's just not happening. I think every time I do it, I get shoulder pain. So I might just ask one of my, smart friends, how do I low bar squat? Anyway, make sure to make fun of my Edgar haircut in the comments. Tell me, what kind of fuckboy I am. All right, that's all. See you tomorrow.